Hi. This video has been brought to you by my inability to sleep at night and also NordVPN. I'm not gonna claim that Diana is the most innovative teen sitcom that I have ever seen or that has ever existed. I won't claim that it reinvented the wheel for humor. I think a lot of the jokes are still pretty funny. It may not have been a groundbreaking change of pace for a Nickelodeon original in terms of humor, but it was in fact a culturally significant TV show whose legacy has persevered in spite of its network and critics all but snuffing it out. The show followed 15-year-old Diana, who attends a performing arts school in Manhattan. She dreams of being a famous singer and actress. She idolizes the likes of J-Lo and Christina Aguilera and the icon, the GOAT, Sanina. Each episode, like most sitcoms, saw her getting into mostly wacky but sometimes serious situations that would challenge her and bring her closer to achieving her dreams and embracing herself. This is one of those classic Nickelodeon TV shows that rarely gets talked about when people look back on Nick's old programming with nostalgia-tinted glasses on. Kind of like Animorphs, but Diana was good. While it was incredibly popular at the time, between the massive successes of All That and its spin-off The Amanda Show and the introduction of the Dan Schneider television universe, what a can of worms that is. The significance of Diana has been overlooked by many, but not by all. Because for those of us who had a special affinity for the show, for those of us who saw more than a girl following her dream, it's been impossible to forget Diana. Plus, the theme song is honestly the best teen sitcom theme song. I mean, of course, we got That's So Raven. Maybe we can slip Best of Both Worlds in there somewhere, but Diana's coming out on top for me. Anyway, the show low-key became the blueprint for later programs like Disney's Hannah Montana and Nick's Victorious. It was created by Maria Perez Brown, who made a major career change in the 1990s, going from being a tax lawyer to entering the world of showrunning and creating two especially iconic children's programs. The first being Gullah Gullah Island, and the second being Diana. When I make videos like these, I most often talk about my favorite movies and shows from when I was around 9 or 10. But this time, I have to shout out Miss Brown because Gullah Gullah Island was absolutely my shit when I was a toddler. Thank you for that, Maria. Brown had conceptualized the idea for Gullah Gullah Island and Diana when she was still a lawyer, and she was presented with a perfect opportunity to share her writing with Geraldine Laybourne, the head of Nickelodeon at the time, and who was responsible for making the network the top-rated 24-hour cable network in the country. When Gullah Gullah Island ended in 1998 after being showered with praise in a multitude of NAACP Image Awards, Brown was asked if she had any other ideas. Enter Diana.
Diana, Diana, I know I can't wait to see my name in lights. No one's gonna stop me, you'll see.
Brown had the idea for Diana since 1996, and as the decade drew to an end, she tightened up the script and the characters and soon pitched the show to Nickelodeon.
Welcome back to TRL. Today's guest has the most requested video of the week. She's here to sing her monster hit. Give it up for Taina. It's great to have you here, Taina.
It's great to be here, Carson. Thank you. I may never leave.
All right.
No, I can't wait to see my name in lights. No one's gonna stop me, you'll see.
I will go far. Ina, sing it to your own soda.
Dreaming, living, Taina. A new Nick show premieres tomorrow at 7, 6 Central on Nick.
By that time, the network was being headed by Herb Scannell, whose time with Nickelodeon saw the release of shows like SpongeBob SquarePants, Dora the Explorer, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. At this time, more attention was being paid to the country's racial demographics.
Do you think it's interesting that the executives right around 2001 were really open and receptive to a show about a Puerto Rican girl from Queens?
Well, there was a lot of statistics. There was a lot of research coming out saying, look at the population numbers. Already people were beginning to understand that Latinos in America was a young population and that it was growing very fast. And so when you look at those trends, if you are a business entity, you have to cater to your audience. If you don't have product that your audience wants, they're going to go find it somewhere else.
In 1998, Nickelodeon began to plan shows with more Latino representation, and the result of this would be the release of 3 shows on their network. Dora the Explorer in 1999, The Brothers Garcia in 2000, and lastly, Taina in 2001. Today, there are only a handful of predominantly Latino-led television programs. It's very depressing to look at these statistics and realize that despite it being over 20 years since Nickelodeon began to roll out these 3 shows, the television landscape is still lacking representation. The Brothers Garcia broke ground as the first English-language sitcom to have an all-Latino cast and crew, and it's an amazing show. I rewatched a few episodes recently, and I think a lot of it still holds up. I had such a big crush on Carlos. I didn't watch Mysterious Skin just because he was in it, but I have to be honest, it was definitely an element, okay? Normally I don't like reboots, but I'm looking forward to this one. Taina's significance also lies in the fact that it was the first Nickelodeon show led by a Latina. Cristina Vidal was 18 years old when she was cast as the lead. She had already been in a band and had been acting since she was 12 years old, her first acting credit being her role as Angie in Life with Mikey, a movie centered on an ex-actor trying to find the next child star. She held her own opposite Michael J. Fox. Taina was not only her first time landing a leading role, but it was also the first time she was able to showcase her repertoire of talents. A strong performer, a dynamic vocalist, and she had a knack for comedy. Taking on this role proved to be a lot of responsibility, especially at such a young age. Christina's time on the show would challenge her personally and professionally, and even she has attested that the work she did on Taina was groundbreaking for both her career and her personal growth.
Which project changed your life the most?
Taina. It was the first time that I was a lead in anything, and I had that much work to do and that much responsibility. I grew a lot and matured a lot in a very short period of time.
The cast also included Latangela as Maritza, the sort of mean girl diva who's actually kind of a good friend and has some of the funniest quips.
Well, I seem to be a little short of my $75 mega fund fee, so I'm willing to let these gorgeous sandals go for the price of the trip.
So let me get this straight. You're broke and you need me to bail you out by buying these secondhand sandals from you?
Kalia Adams as Renee, an aspiring comedian and Taina's best friend who has the best quips.
What's the big deal? So Taina got a love letter in Spanish. Who cares? At least I can read my love letters.
That's because you write them yourself.
I swear these two were always stealing the show. They were a delight. Chris Knowings as aspiring writer and director Lamar, and David Oliver Cohen as talented instrumentalist Daniel. The iconic Lisa Lisa of the famous band Lisa Lisa and the Cult Jam joined on as Gloria, Taina's mother. From its characters and its setting, the show was a celebration of the arts, but it was also a celebration of dreams in general. When writing the theme song, Maria Perez Brown said she wanted the lyrics to be aspirational and empowering. Her point in writing Taina was to show children that they should be vigilant about their dreams no matter what anyone says, that you have to believe in yourself before anyone else. Taina's dream could have been that she wanted to be a chef, and the message would have remained. In episode 1, shortly after beginning at the Manhattan Art School, or Manhattan School of Arts, shit, I really fucked that up, didn't I? Taina is harshly criticized by her acting teacher, but she doesn't give up because of a little criticism. She goes back home, learns her lines, and gives a great performance in the end. She also performs her theme song in the hallway, and it's such a bop. As early as episode 2, Taina learns about the importance of friendship and how fame isn't nearly as important as she initially thought.
I would never leave my best friend on the way to the top. That's not who I am. Fame and fortune is nothing without the people you love the most to share it with.
Taina wasn't just about dreams of being a star and friends getting into wacky situations. It had a value. It was about Taina's identity as a Puerto Rican American girl who, as Perez Brown so eloquently put it, had her foot in 2 cultures.
My tradition, my language, my voice. Gifts passed down to me from the women in my family.
Quinceañero and En Español are some of the best episodes of the series. In Quinceañero, Taina wants to respect and celebrate her family's desires for her special day, but she also wants to have a say in how her party unfolds. Her dress, her souvenirs, her chocolate cake, her music choice.
You know I love the way you play, but...
But what?
Don't worry, Taina. Mrs. Rivera says she's gonna try to get her sister's best friend's baby's daddy's cousin to sing for you.
I should be able to choose the music from my own quinceañero.
And in Español, after getting a failing grade on a Spanish test, her abuelo insists on only speaking Spanish in the house, afraid that she's going to forget her Puerto Rican heritage.
Why did you do all this, abuelo?
Because, nena,
I don't want you to lose the connection to your culture. If you don't write or read your native language, you'll forget where you came from. And when I'm gone, you'll forget me too.
Instantly, the show was beloved. It premiered to a lot of enthusiasm, and Nickelodeon immediately saw the value in it. There aren't many reviews of the show that are still on the internet, but one of the earliest reviews I could find criticized Diana for not being like the brothers Garcia. Seriously, they're two completely different shows with different characters and different sitcom formats, but sure, they both have Latino characters, so let's compare them, I guess. When people look back on Diana, or when they're reminded of the show's existence, it tends to be with the view that it was a small show that slipped under the radar. But the truth was that when Diana premiered, it got the highest ratings Nick had received in years, and by the time the second season was airing, it had double the viewership it did before. The show was doing extremely well. The reason it was prematurely canceled wasn't because no one was watching it, it wasn't because of critics, it wasn't because the lead wanted to do other things. It was canceled because Nickelodeon decided it was just too expensive to produce. And it kind of makes sense. The pilot episode was actually shot in Manhattan, while the remaining episodes were filmed at the Orlando studio, one of the last shows to be filmed on that set before it closed down. The show featured guest stars like 3LW, Joe,
I wanna know what makes you cry.
Lil Romeo, and Solange, Shakira,
9?
Yes.
9?
9?
What's wrong? Do you turn into a pumpkin at 9 or what?
and Kelly Rowland. And it regularly cut to these extravagant imaginations of Diana wherein she saw her name in lights and performed in front of thousands. So that meant new songs had to be composed for each episode, and a miniature music video had to be shot at different locations. Still, it kind of frustrates me that this is why the show was canceled. It still doesn't seem like a good excuse though, but you know, I'm not trying to start anything. I just wish they had found a way to trim the budget instead of canceling it altogether. By the time the cast and crew found out about the cancellation, the writers had already completed the third season and a TV movie. We'll never know what would have happened in these episodes, whether Diana achieved her dreams or whether Daniel would have finally admitted he had a little crush on Renee. It's all lost to the past. So why did Diana, despite being so culturally significant and despite being one of Nickelodeon's most popular programs, fade into obscurity the way that it did? Because Nick stopped airing it completely. And aside from CBC airing reruns for a brief period, no other network aired it, most likely because Nickelodeon never leased the rights to any other network. This left even the memories we had of Diana in a sort of entertainment limbo where after it was gone, some people forgot it existed or they remembered it existed, but because they never saw the show again, not even for a rerun, it felt like some sort of fever dream. As of making this video, the show is still only available on YouTube. At least someone out there is making sure Diana lives on. Thanks, Diana Morales. All that said, the people who do remember Diana have remembered for nearly 20 years. The theme song, Diana's motivation, and how important it was to see a young Latina leading her own show. In 2019, Maria Perez Brown was interviewed about Diana's significance, and the question was posed whether a reboot would be in the works. As much as I don't like reboots, I think in the case of Diana, a reboot is warranted. Shows like Friends and Full House and Fresh Prince, what's with the F thing? I'm only thinking of F's right now. All had proper endings. Maybe they weren't the endings people wanted, but each show concluded on its own. Diana was cut off before it was given a chance to expand on its world. Years later, after Nickelodeon basically asked Dan Schneider if he could basically remake Diana, Victorious was cancelled, but Nick had the good grace to at least let it live on in reruns, where Diana not only ended abruptly, but never saw the light of day again until 2016. And that was because of a YouTuber. Diana's season 2 just ended with questions of what would happen next. I used to imagine scenarios for the show, thinking that Diana would probably have a breakthrough role as a lead in some teen TV show, and then she would have to go to school at the same time, and the whole thing would be very meta. It'd be so nice to see where she is today, and both Cristina Vidal and Maria Perez Brown have their own thoughts.
So in the reboot that we're talking about, without revealing too much, we are reaching out to the original cast, and we are hopefully bringing back the same characters, but as adults now with their own families. And what are they doing when it comes to the art? Are they still pursuing the arts? Are they working? Are they still struggling artists? Because it's a reality that you could, when you were 15, want to be a singer, you're doing bit parts, but nothing really has popped for you. But some of them are successful in other businesses.
I also like the idea of seeing struggling artists still holding on to their passion for art. So if that would be part of the focus of a Diana reboot, Count me the fuck in. After Taina's cancellation, the Brothers Garcia ended 2 years later. And after that, there wouldn't be another Latina-led live-action TV show on Nickelodeon until Victorious. And I think everyone hates Tori. I don't know, I've never seen the show. It's the one where they all sing, right? Nickelodeon said that the show was too expensive, but 3 years after Taina's cancellation, the network okayed the production of Zoey 101, which quickly became the most expensive show on the network. And it was not canceled because of expenses, but that's none of my business. There are so many things that get a second life on the internet. TikTok brings back songs that may have been overlooked in the past, or it gives them another shot at being the super popular track they once were. Netflix does the same for TV shows. When Girlfriends and Moesha were put on the streaming service, I and so many others gleefully rewatched them, and eventually new generations caught on to it for the first time. Rewatching is what continues to make The Office one of the most popular shows amongst adults and teenagers alike. It would be nice if Taina was put somewhere where others could see it and celebrate its importance. But until then, I guess we always have Taina Morales. Remember those PSAs in the 90s and the aughts when a disembodied voice lectured people about downloading music illegally, or warned us about talking to strangers on the internet, or maybe even how our parents told us to never get into cars with strangers? And now we just do all of that. I know we look back on these and kind of laugh about how melodramatic some of these PSAs are, but there was something they were right about. The internet is dangerous. And I don't just mean it's dangerous when you talk to strangers or download music. It's dangerous with every little thing you do. Hell, watching this video is putting you at risk of getting your data mined right now. You ever seen Possessor? It's a documentary about data mining. Check it out, okay? Stay educated, folks. That's why you shouldn't surf the internet without the extra protection of a VPN. It's like a condom for your privacy. NordVPN is my favorite VPN because it has double data encryption, which aside from being able to watch block things on Netflix, has got to be my favorite part about the service. You can't double bag your condoms, but you can always double bag your VPNs with NordVPN. NordVPN also has a no logs policy, which means they're not trying to keep your data. That's your business, and I'm here to offer you a deal. Go to nordvpn.com/Yara or use the code YARA when you check out, and you can get a 2-year plan and a bonus gift for a bargain. So if you like wearing condoms or not having your data mined, because it's basically the same thing, go get that deal. nordvpn.com/Yara. Go get it, or just stop watching the video because it's over. Leave?